Donald Trump and Kamala? Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are not Christians. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are not Baptist, they're not Presbyterian, they're not Catholic, they are not believers of Christ. They don't know what Christ said, they don't know what Christ believed, they can't even quote one single passage from Christ. And for fear of casting these pearls amongst you fucking pigs, here goes nothing. The greatest among you will serve the rest. Donald just straight up said he wasn't a Christian, so believe him. Why would he lie about that? Here, let's take a listen.
Vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. In 4 years, I'm not Christian. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm not Christian.
I love you, Christians. I'm not Christian.
Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm not Christian.
Why would you not believe him? He told you that he's not a Christian. Why would you not believe him? Donald doesn't care for the poor. He doesn't care for the homeless. He doesn't care for the sick. He doesn't care about the people in Palestine, in Bethlehem. Donald doesn't care about the hungry, the thirsty, nor the captive, nor the prisoner. You've seen the evidence. I've given you the evidence. If you can't see the forest through the trees, nor the birds who fly high, nor the beautiful wildflowers, are you blind? What are you, blind? Can you not see? Do you need Jesus to restore your sight? You've got enough food, you wicked, gluttonous society, but you don't have enough spiritual food. God damn it, Donald only panders to the Christians. But he's not a Christian himself. At least Kamala claims to be a Baptist Christian. That's a good start. A Protestant Christian. But Donald's a grifter. Donald has spit out 30,000 lies. 30,000 lies during his 4 years in office. Jesus motherfucking Christ. That is bearing false witness like a motherfucker. Is it not? Donald thought he won the 22. If Donald actually thought that he won the 2020 election, why did he walk away from the White House? He thought he was the winner and he got more votes. He won the Electoral College. He won the popular vote. And yet he walks away from the throne. Donald knows of his own deceit. He's a false witness bearing motherfucking devil. Get behind me, Satan. Get behind me. Donald doesn't care about our health. He cares more for the insurance companies. But so does Kamala Harris. She's a hard no vote on single-payer Medicare for all. She used to be for health care, but now she is not. If she's not for life, what about liberty? What about the pursuit of happiness? Kamala Harris is an imperialist capitalist. Kamala Harris is for the insurance companies as well. Kamala Harris is a right-wing conservative Republican. This is an analysis of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris knows that we live in unsettled times. So settle them, Kamala Harris. She knows that we didn't start the fire, but put the motherfucking fire out, Kamala Harris. Put it out, Kamala. Be a Christian, Kamala Harris. Be the best, most perfect version of Christianity that you know that you can be. Jesus said to love your enemies. That's an ideal. That's a utopia. Jesus said that we should love our enemies because the sun shines on both the good and the sinful alike. The rain falls upon the wicked and the righteous, all the same. What is so praiseworthy about loving somebody who loves you back? Even the pagans can do that. You must be as perfect as God the Father is perfect. You must be as perfect as God the Father is perfect. The greatest among you will serve the rest. The greatest among you will serve the rest. First, some good things about Kamala. Kamala Harris wants to pass a child tax credit. A child tax credit that would provide $6,000 per child to families for the first year of a baby's life. I don't understand these child tax credits. Are poor folks with kids actually getting checks for having kids? If that's the case, that's great. If it's just a tax credit so you don't have to pay as much, that sounds like a middle class. But if you're getting checks, cut the checks. Yes, that's a good thing. Expand the earned income tax credit she is campaigning on for lower wage workers by up to $1,500. Again, are the working class getting $1,500 checks? Because when you talk about tax credits, it sounds a little wishy-washy to me, but I'm not 100%. Eliminating medical debt for millions of Americans. Yes. Yes. Use federal funds to buy and forgive outstanding debt from the health providers. Good. Good. So some people are going to get their insurance cost taken care of. That's great. Everybody or just some? Not universal health care, but just some of us are going to get our medical debt forgiven. Well, who's worthy? How are you going to figure out who's worthy and who's not? Regardless, these are helping poor folks, working class folks. They're helping the sick. These are things like Jesus. When we have become good at the small affairs, then we'll be able to trust you with the larger affairs. Judgment comes to those who speak evil against God and the Holy Spirit. Against God and the Holy Spirit, the great spirit of ultimate goodness. And those who possess that spirit. Woe to ye Pharisees, you who tithe mint and dill and cumin. You have forgot the important things like faith and mercy and justice. Love thy neighbor, love thy enemy. God is the great spirit of ultimate goodness. The last will be first and the first will be last. Free the prisoner, heal the brokenhearted. Glad tidings to the lowly. Have faith. Jesus was revolutionary. Jesus was revolutionary as fuck. Jesus Christ is alive in me. Kamala Harris is in favor of the new Jim Crow. She's okay with piling private prisons full for cheap black men labor. The inmates working in prisons as groundkeepers, janitors, and cooks, well, they get, 37 cents per hour if they work hard, or 8 cents an hour. 8 cents an hour, you worked a full day, here's $1. You worked a week, here's $7. That's not free the prisoner. That's not healing the brokenhearted. That's not glad tidings to the lowly. It's not feeding the hungry or providing drink to the thirsty either. Kamala Harris sent an innocent man, Jamal Truelove, to jail for murder. 50 fucking years. It's going to cost San Francisco $13 million because he was innocent. And she laughed. Oh, how she laughed when Jamal Truelove was convicted. He served 6 years of that 50-year sentence. The first day in prison, he saw a murder right before his eyes. He went to San Quentin. San Quentin, the maximum security. He was stabbed in prison. He was stabbed. How many other innocent people are thrown in prison and get stabbed? Kamala Harris laughed at Jamal Truelove. Does she not care about the truth, nor mercy, nor justice? You can't get justice if you don't know the truth. What goes into woman does not go into her heart. When you eat something, you don't have to wash your hands because this is Jesus. What goes into a woman, what goes into a man, doesn't go into her heart. It goes into the stomach. And it's not what goes into the woman that makes her evil. So Kamala Harris, you can eat all the Doritos you want, but it's what comes out of woman that makes her impure. From the mind stem evil designs, murder, adulterous conduct, sexual immorality, stealing, false witness. Thou shalt not bear false witness. How can you judge something without knowing the truth? JFK's head went back and to the left. There's an objective truth. Find out that objective truth as best as you can. Protect the victim. Punish the evildoer. Be merciful where mercy is due. The unmerciful official who did not treat those that they punished mercifully, when their judgment day came, then they were not treated mercifully. Judge not, lest ye be judged. You treat others the way you want to be treated, because when you were merciful, then you'll be treated mercifully. Don't bear false witness. Don't bear false witness, Kamala Harris. Jamal Truelove was convicted. 6 years of his life, 50-year sentence. He got $13 million check. How many innocent people are in jail right now? Woe to ye Pharisees who tithe mint and dill and cumin. You forget faith and mercy and justice. How many other innocent folks? How many other innocent folks has Kamala Harris chucked away into prison? Prosecute the white-collar criminals, Kamala. Free Mumia Abu-Jamal, Kamala. Free Leonard Peltier, Kamala. Bring Edward Snowden home, Kamala. Free Medhurst, Kamala. Let the ex-felons vote. They did their time. Let them vote. You strain out a gnat, but you swallow a camel. Faith and mercy and justice. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but it's the presence of justice. She was for marijuana, against marijuana. She said legalized 5 years ago, but she also threw a whole bunch of potheads into jail. But she's totally pro-war on drugs. Freedom to the captive. Showed mercy, Kamala. Free Mumia, free Leonard, free Edward, free Richard Medhurst. Kamala. Care for the sick, care for the leper, heal the brokenhearted, Kamala. Glad tidings to the lowly, Kamala. Care for the prostitute. Kamala Harris is against the sex worker. She's opposed to private post office boxes too. What the fuck? That's unconstitutional. Kamala Harris. She shut down escort websites that had often protected sex workers from exploitation and violence. Neither Donald nor Kamala Harris will protect the prostitutes. Both will keep on locking up sex workers. Guess what, Kamala? Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. That's Jesus' wife. The wife of Jesus Christ was a paid whore. Before she repented, before she became a follower of Jesus. You got to care for the sick. You got to care for the leper, Kamala. Heal the brokenhearted. Glad tidings to the lowly. And care for the prostitute. Kamala Harris, you got to embrace the stranger. Now, Kamala Harris had said to the Guatemalan immigrant, don't come to America. Do not come to America. Yet we'll overthrow Venezuelan governments, and then Venezuelan immigrants will come here. We've devastated Guatemala. We've devastated Honduras. We've devastated Grenada. We've devastated Nicaragua, Bolivia, Chile. My God, every place we've meddled, it's for the corporations to set up shop to rob the raw materials. Can't the people of Chile elect a socialist if they want a socialist? Don't we believe in self-determination? Don't we believe in democracy, Kamala?
I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come.
Do not come.
The United States will continue to enforce our laws and secure our border. There are legal methods by which migration can and should occur. But we, as one of our priorities, will discourage illegal migration. And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back.
So that's Kamala Harris. What does the Bible, what does Jesus, was it Genesis? You shall also love the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Matthew 25:42-43. I was hungry and you gave me no food. I was thirsty and you gave me nothing to drink. I was away from home and you gave me no welcome. I was naked and you gave me no clothing. I was ill and in prison and you did not come to comfort me. I was away from home and you gave me no welcome, Kamala. Kamala Harris, that's not like Jesus. That's not a Baptist Christian. Of course you keep the criminals and the terrorizers and the oppressors. You keep the shit out. But you keep the good and the moral and the lawful, Kamala. In Matthew 25, it says, you are like the whitewashed tombs, Kamala, beautiful to look at on the outside, but on the inside, you're full of filth and dead man's bones, Kamala. Kamala Harris wants to cap the out-of-pocket cost of insulin at $35 a month for all Americans. That's incredible. Could you imagine price gouging on insulin? Oh, you're a diabetic? Well, who knows? You might die because your insulin costs $1,000, limiting Americans' annual out-of-pocket spending on prescription drugs to $2,000. Kamala, these are good things. You are taking care of the sick. You're taking care of the lowly. You're taking care of the poor. Providing up to $25,000 in down payment support for more than 1 million first-time home buyers. That's incredible. A lot of these government programs, I see the rich get the goddamn motherfucking government programs. Either the poorest of the poor or the middle class or the rich, the working class, don't get shit. I don't know how those tax credits work, and I don't know how this first-time home buyer, how do you get this money? How do you get this $25,000? Does everybody know how this shit work and they're not telling me? We need to combat price gouging on groceries and food, says Kamala Harris, by authorizing the Federal Trade Commission to impose large fines on grocery stores that impose excessive price hikes on customers. Yes, Kamala Harris, that is like Jesus. You are helping the hungry get some food. You're helping the thirsty get something to drink. But you're not helping us get any education. Knowledge is a virtue. No free college, no free health care. Kamala Harris is a puppet of BlackRock and One West Bank. BlackRock and the One West Banks, I thought she took on the banks. But she's got hedge funds and equity firms and stock brokers who backs her. Do you remember, Kamala, what Jesus did in the temple? He flipped the table over with the money changers. He threw those damn money changers out of the temple. Why? Because the money changers are turning the holy temple into a den of thieves, Kamala. From March 2020 to March 2024, the number of billionaires in America went from 614 to 737. 614 to 737, Kamala. You work hard, you make your money, that's good. But if you're just some sort of speculator, you're just some sort of manipulator, when the shit that's happening in Palestine, for every single life is important. Be pro-life, Kamala. For every life, innocent life that's killed in Palestine, we should bankrupt a billionaire. I bet you that would stop it. I bet you that'd stop the massacre, Kamala. What does Jesus say about the rich, Kamala? Hey, Kamala Harris, do you know what Jesus said when it came to the rich? He says that the rich could follow all the 10 Commandments. Essentially be perfect. No adultery, no stealing, no murdering, no coveting, nothing. Be perfect, perfect, perfect. But what else did Jesus Christ require of the rich? Jesus Christ said to the rich man, you got to sell all of your things, give your possessions to the poor, and then come and follow me. But the rich man loved his possessions so very, very much. Kamala, the rich man can only enter the kingdom of heaven if you're able to take a camel and put it into the eye of a needle. The eye of a needle is like this big. A camel is like this big. The camel is too big to fit through the eye of a needle. A rich man or woman will get to heaven, yeah, when pigs fly. It's not possible. I know with God all things are possible. But a rich man who hoards his wealth, who keeps his wealth, who doesn't give to charity, who doesn't help others, that person who's not good, that person won't go to the kingdom of heaven. He's also, Kamala Harris, you're talking about no ban on fracking. Well, fracking causes earthquakes, Kamala Harris. They're going down, they're spraying all this chemicals and shit into our groundwater, and it's to get the pockets of methane, so they're fucking with the underneath our earth. This is not an exact science. This is a terrible way to extract minerals. Maybe if there's like 100 miles, you could do fracking 100 miles away from everybody. But we don't need more earthquakes, Kamala. Kamala Harris, we don't need more earthquakes in America. In Matthew 24:7, Jesus says that nations will rise against nations. This is at the end of days. Kingdoms against kingdoms. And there will be famine and pestilence and earthquakes in many places. Ban fracking now. The greatest among you will serve the rest. Do not fear those who can steal the body, but who can't steal the soul. Oh, you can take the body, but you can't take the soul. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. You can blaspheme the Son of Man. You can blaspheme the Son of God, the Son of the great Spirit of ultimate goodness. But you better not blaspheme the Holy Spirit, nor the great Spirit of ultimate goodness itself. That is unforgivable, Kamala Harris. My soul is the orphan and the widow, the starving, the hungry, the thirsty, those in pain, the tax collector, the lepers, the prostitutes, the lowly, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Kamala Harris, you're a fascist on truancy, on public schools. Kamala Harris, I like that you're opposing fascism, but why were you fascist when it came to truancy on public schools? Free the captives. If a child is running wild, committing crimes, okay, put them in school. But if the child is being captive at an abusive house, an abusive school, that's not helping. if they're being homeschooled, if they're interning a job, learning a valuable workman's trade, if they're getting a good education, if they're doing positive and progressive things, then Kamala Harris, let them be. Let Huckleberry Finn be Huckleberry Finn. He thought he was doing wrong when he acknowledged that the black man is a man. But that was right, Kamala Harris. That was right. Kamala Harris is a cop. Kamala Harris is a system defender. Are we going to get criminal justice reform? Kamala Harris, because we need criminal justice reform. We need cop reform, Kamala Harris. We need to demilitarize the police, Kamala Harris. 20 years ago, it didn't matter what the fuck they did. Everybody just turned a blind eye. Oh shit, how did JoJo Beans get shot the fuck up? Well, they said there was a knife and he lunged. Oh, well shit. Guess JoJo Beans is going to go to hell. Now, woe to ye Pharisees who wear a badge and uniform, but you don't speak with the same authority of Jesus, the Christ. Woe to ye Pharisees who do not care for the truth, nor peace, nor mercy, nor justice. The first will be last, Kamala. Kamala, the last will be first. 38 million people in America are poor, Kamala. 38 million, Kamala. So America is doing great overall, but not 12% of us. Turn the other cheek. Being a Christian, does that mean being against Palestine is, what is that? You're against the freedom of religion? That goes against our Bill of Rights and the American Constitution, Kamala. Being against Palestine is being against brown people. That's racist, Kamala. It's a white supremacist colonialist project, Kamala. Jesus was a black and or brown man who was born in Bethlehem. Jesus is a Palestinian, Kamala. How are you going to pretend to be a Baptist Christian when you don't know a single Christian precept and you're okay with murdering 200,000 Jesus Christ on the cross from Bethlehem, Kamala? The first will be last and the last will be first, Kamala. Now, Kamala wants to expand an existing tax incentive for developers who build affordable rental housing. Why don't you just cut us some checks, Kamala? We need checks. Cut some UBI checks. Cut the families checks. Cut the working class some checks. Start printing that money up. You print that money up whenever it comes to genocide, when it comes to killing Jesus Christ. Expanding an existing tax incentive for developers. Okay, that sounds like a good idea. It's not good enough, but it's positive. It's progressive. Remove tax benefits for Wall Street investors who buy in bulk single-family rental homes. Why do people have to pay so much when it comes to rental homes? That's a mortgage payment. People who pay $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for rent, you could build your house for a percentage of that and pay a lesser mortgage. These banks aren't savings and loans. They are not giving people loans so people can buy their own houses. They are sucking us dry. Kamala Harris, you want to prevent corporate landlords from using an algorithmic price setting tool to increase rents by large margins. Yes. Yes, Kamala Harris. Yes. That is positive, progressive. That is positive and progressive. You keep the good things and you throw out the shit. You got to keep your heart. You got to care for the rest of us, and you got to change. You got to evolve. In order to be perfect, you got to change over and over and over again. Constantly reassess yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror. Of course you got faults. We all got faults. So better yourself day in and day out. I like all those things, Kamala. You got to treat your neighbor as you'd want to treat yourself, Kamala. So you're telling me that you'd be okay with Israel killing 200,000 Americans? You think it's okay, Kamala? If Israel started bombing the shit out of America, started bombing old people and women and children, go ahead, find your hostages. But you're not telling me that you're being merciful or proportional, nor just. You're just indiscriminately killing everybody on the block. So you got one criminal over there, so you went ahead and killed 50 people for one criminal? 200,000 is way bigger than 1,200. That's not eye for an eye. That's an eye for 100 eyes. That's a bloodbath. That's a Tarantino movie. That's not justice. It's not proportional. It's not merciful. That which you do to the least of my brethren, Kamala Harris, you do unto me. Where's Kamala at on the NSA spying and on working class unions, the Employee Free Choice Act? What about instant runoff voting? Are we going to get free and fair elections? Are we going to perfect our presidential elections? What about a second Bill of Rights? I hear that you're doing a housing Bill of Rights. That's good, Kamala Harris. Don't bear false witness, Kamala Harris. You got to speak the truth, Kamala Harris. So release the JFK files. Release the UFO files, Kamala Harris. Release the Epstein files, Kamala Harris. I want you to take on the big banks, Kamala Harris, and I want you to throw the corporate criminals in jail just as much as the street crime. And I want you to provide small business and entrepreneurs with capital as well. You say you want a new way forward. I like that. Yes, let's move forward. Positive and progressive. We need a new way forward. She says she's going to codify Roe v. Wade. That's good too. From the Dana Bash interview, we see that Kamala Harris, she's a Republican. She's a Republican on the border. She's a Republican on the drilling and the fracking. She wants a Republican in her cabinet. She wants Republican policing policy. She wants Republican trickle-down economic policy. She's pro-military industrial complex. We need to defend ourselves. We need to make sure our troops are taken care of and that they get all the equipment and uniforms and mental health treatment that they need. We don't need to help Israel kill a bunch of innocent people. There's a lot of problems in the world, Kamala Harris. If we're going to be the empire, be the benevolent empire, there's problems in Sudan, there's problems in the Congo, there's problems in Mozambique, there's problems in Cambodia, Kamala. You can't be beholden to Israel just as Joe, Genocide Joe. Are you going to be Genocide Joe? It's the same rhetoric, the same gaslighting, the same policy, verbatim. We need an arms embargo, Kamala Harris. Don't give them the weapons. Don't give them the money. Don't give them the means to carry out their crimes. Israel's got a right to defend themselves. This ain't defense. Palestine's got a right to defend themselves. They're living in camps right now, Kamala Harris. We're not going to refund the NRWA. No mention of the West Bank onslaught. This is from Zainab Day. Don't call anybody on earth your father, Kamala. That's Matthew 23:9. Do not call anybody on earth your father. Tim Walz isn't your father. Netanyahu isn't your father. Joe Biden isn't your father. No man or woman can serve two masters. You being a black woman means you can change a lot of things about this country. In a good way. In a revolutionary way. In a Christian way. You can't serve two masters. That's why you can't call anybody on earth your father. You only got one father. That's the Father in heaven. That's God. That's the great spirit of ultimate goodness. Either you could serve God or you could serve money. You could serve the billionaire class or you could serve the great spirit of ultimate goodness. AIPAC or goodness. Either Kamala or Donald could serve the American people or a tiny foreign theocracy opposed to the freedom of religion, opposed to the kingdom of heaven, opposed to the great spirit of ultimate goodness. If we can't do a two-state solution, then Kamala Harris, why can't we do integration? Weren't you that kid that were bused across the way? You know the effects of segregation. So if we can't do a two-state solution with Israel and Palestine, then integrate. Because those are the only two options. Either you do integration or you do a two-state solution, Kamala Harris. It took America forever to get us integration. In the 1964 Civil Rights Act, LBJ had to twist so many arms. Kamala Harris, you got to get Israel to register all the Palestinians to vote. Kamala Harris, you got to make them citizens of Israel. If you can't do a two-state solution, then we got to invade Israel. We got to stop Israel from murder and mass murder, and it's a slaughter of the innocents, Kamala Harris. That's how Jesus was born. King Herod ordered a slaughter of the innocents. Pharaoh ordered a slaughter of the innocents. That's where Moses comes from. That's where Jesus comes from. The Black Messiah. The Black Messiah and Judas. Judas and the Black Messiah. Take a lesson from Fred Hampton. Take a lesson from the Black Panthers, Kamala Harris. Right now in Palestine, you got millions of people in tent camps. You got millions of Palestinians who's been living in tent camps. You see what we do with the homeless. We just attacked them. That's the Democrats in California. There's people living in the sewers in Las Vegas, Kamala Harris. That's what's going on in Palestine right now. They're living in tin camps. So they're pissed off. Who gives a shit? There's apartheid. There's segregation. They are being oppressed like a motherfucker. To keep millions of people in tin camps is wretched and foul to begin with. And then to bomb them on top of it all? And you expect them to be as merciful as the wealthy people who don't have to worry about any of this shit? To keep millions of people in tin camps, Kamala Harris, to tear up their streets? You're invading the West Bank. That has nothing to do with Hamas. The Palestinian Authority runs the West Bank, Kamala. 2 million of the Palestinians have already been displaced, so they got to move from tent camp to tent camp continually? Like what in the fucking fuck? So we can just keep bombing their women and their children into oblivion to rip off their heads, to rip off their arms and their legs and their jaws, to shoot Hind Rajab, a 6-year-old child, up to 100 times, Kamala Harris? Where's the virtue in any of this wretched and foul horse shit? You wicked brood of vipers. Kamala Harris, we need you to be good. And we need you to do good because the good do good. The good do good because it's in them to do good. But the wicked, they only know how to do wicked because it's in them to do wicked and only wicked. Get out of my sight, you Satan. You're trying to make me trip and fall, you Satan. You brood of vipers. You're not judging by God's standards, but by man's. If your enemy strikes you on your left cheek, you turn the other cheek. You let them strike you on the right cheek. If somebody wants your shirt, you give it to them. And you give your coat to them as well. If you lust for another woman besides your wife, then you've already committed adultery, Kamala. A couple who divorces make adulterers of them both, Kamala. Yes, the murderer is guilty, Kamala Harris, but so is the one who hates. If you hate your brother or your sister or father or mother or daughter or son without a just reason, Kamala Harris, then that too is an abomination to the great spirit of ultimate goodness, Kamala Harris. Love the goodness in man, Kamala Harris. Have faith that the good will defeat evil, Kamala Harris. Good won in the American Revolution. Good won the Civil War. Good won in World War II. Many, many times evil wins, but virtue is a goodness. Virtue is goodness in of itself, Kamala Harris. Virtue is a virtue all by itself, Kamala. And the Lord loves those who do good, Kamala Harris, with or without the credit. The greatest among you will serve the rest, Kamala Harris. Do not fear those who can steal the body but can't steal the soul. Kamala Harris, love God and love your neighbor, Kamala Harris. Israel's not loving their neighbor, Kamala Harris. You can't keep giving them money and weapons, Kamala Harris. You can't give them your umbrella at the United Nations Security Council. Don't veto when the whole world says they're doing evil. Pay attention. The God is the God of the living, not the dead. Don't store material wealth, Kamala Harris. You got to store your spiritual wealth, Kamala Harris. And that which you do to the least of my brethren, Kamala Harris, you do unto me. Bring glad tidings to the lowly. Kamala, hear the brokenhearted. Kamala, free the captives. Kamala, give sight to the blind and hearing to the deaf. Release the prisoners, Kamala Harris. The greatest among you, Kamala Harris, will serve the rest. Kamala Harris. $5 billion it would take to solve homelessness in America, Kamala Harris. 38 million poor people. We got a lot of issues in this country, and they're not being dealt with, Kamala Harris. Society is bursting at the seams. We're the richest country, we're the greatest country, then we could do so much better, Kamala Harris. We could do so much better.